Good morning to all of you joining us for this question and answer webinar for the 2020 Regional Call for Innovation of the South and Southeast Regional Hub of the Water and Energy for Food Grand Challenge. Before I get started, I want to review a few housekeeping items. This session is being recorded and will be uploaded to the We for Food website and YouTube channel by the end of this week. There is a question and answer box on the right side of your screen. You can submit your questions and comments in this Q&A box throughout the session. You have the option of submitting your questions anonymously. Given the fact that this is a live procurement, we will publish all responses to any questions raised in the Q&A and any questions submitted previously in a document posted on the website by the end of the week. Today's presentation will be done by myself, Janelle Blanchard, Senior Project Advisor for the Hub, and Mikhail Matosian, the Hub's Project Coordinator. Per the agenda on the next slide, we will provide an overview of the Grand Challenge, an overview of the Regional Innovation Hub, and then we'll dive deep into the call for innovations and respond to the questions that have been formally submitted to date via email. Next slide. What is water and energy for food? It's a grand challenge, and grand challenges mobilize governments, companies, and foundations to come together to solve development problems. They source new solutions, they test new ideas, and scale what works. Water Energy for Food is a second-generation grand challenge for development that continues the partnerships of its predecessors, securing water for food and powering agriculture. And it brings together the following partners, as you can see from the logos. The government of Germany, represented by BMZ through GIZ, the government of the Netherlands, represented by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the government of Sweden, represented by CEDA, and the government of the USA, represented by USAID. Water for Energy for Food is going to build on the lessons learned from the earlier grand challenges to accelerate innovations operating at the water energy food nexus worldwide. Next slide. The Water and Energy for Food partners have committed their resources, as you can see from this slide, $65 million to date, to scale groundbreaking water energy food innovations to impact food security, gender, and poverty reduction in an environmentally sustainable way. Next slide. So what will water and energy for food actually do? What are its areas of interventions? It's going to provide direct grants to promising innovators from the predecessor grand challenges and from new innovators sourced by regional competitions like the current call for innovations. It's going to provide technical assistance and financial assistance to innovators and other intermediaries. It's going to build the capacity of innovators and other stakeholders working in the nexus. It will facilitate the generation and dissemination of knowledge on the nexus. And finally, it will advocate for an enabling environment that is conducive to innovator scaling. Next slide. While there are several hubs for to date, this presentation is focused on the South-Southeast Asia Regional Innovation Hub. It is going to operate in 16 countries and be based out of Bangkok, Thailand. It is implemented by the three firms, Tetra Tech as the prime contractor, supported by Cross Boundary and DevWorks International. And what do we aim for? By 2024, we want to have identified and funded at least 40 innovators working across the region. And that funding is to support innovators to reach a minimum of 1 million smallholder farmers and other end users, including 250,000 women. Again, with that funding and that support to those innovators, we want to increase investment by at least 20 million. And most importantly, we want to integrate gender, environmental sustainability, and base of the pyramid into all the interventions that we do. On the next slide, you will see the 16 countries that we have highlighted, all the way from Afghanistan down to Indonesia. With that, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Mikhail Matosian, who will walk us through the details on the call for innovations and present the responses to the answers that you have submitted to date. Mikhail?
Thanks, Janelle. And hi all, my name is Mikhail. I'm the Home Office Project Coordinator for the We for Food South and Southeast Asia Hub. I'm excited to dive deeper into our call for innovations and answer the questions that we've already received from potential applicants. Before we jump into that though, just a reminder that all the information that I'm going to provide is in the full call for innovations document that you can access on our website, weforfood.org/apply-SSEA. And of course, this webinar is being recorded and will be posted on the website. So first, an overview on the call for innovations. We are aiming to identify and support 25 innovators with proven We for Food products and services in the region as they scale up their technologies. To do this, we are looking to deploy $4 million available in the form of fixed price grants, technical assistance, and/or investment facilitation, with an emphasis on helping businesses grow and becoming more attractive to outside investors. So in terms of examples of technical assistance, these include generating market intelligence, value engineering, product design support, and will be delivered by the Hub's in-house team or external vendors, depending on the need of the innovator. In terms of investment facilitation, examples include developing investment materials, preparing for interacting with investors, negotiating transaction structure and terms, and supporting post-investment expansion. On the enabling environment side, as Janelle mentioned, we're looking to support innovators navigate local policies and regulations, advise on how to engage with public sector and industry trade associations, and also build the capacity of those groups on the We for Food Nexus. And then on the topic of the environmental, social governance issues that Janelle mentioned, gender, sustainability, and base of pyramid impact, we will be advising companies on ways to target these customers, women and poor smallholder farmers, with also advising how to minimize environmental impact. So I really want to specifically emphasize this point about supporting innovators on the ESG integration. This is a key component of We for Food, not just because it's part of the founding partner's vision for the program, but also because it's a lesson learned from the previous 2 grand challenges that it makes business sense to address these topics and integrate them into business models. So now moving to the second part of this slide, each award will be between $25,000 and $500,000 in value, depending on the needs of the innovator. Each award can be up to 3 years in terms of period of performance, which will be determined at the time of the award. And all awards will be contracted with Tetra Tech ES Inc., which is the prime contractor for the We for Food Asia Hub. The We for Food founding partners, in designing the program, identified priority themes in which innovations will be urgently searched for and sought after. So innovations could include, but are not limited to, these 6 themes that you see here. Number 1, innovations in food production to reduce water usage, efficient use of water resources for food production, sustainable use of energy and water on farms, energy innovations for food processing and/or logistics, food production with efficient energy use, and leveraging food waste for energy. So who are we looking to work with? Who are We4Food's target groups? Well, we're aiming to work with 3 major groups, and those are the first 3 bullet points you can see here. Innovators that demonstrated potential for financially sustainable scaling of their products or services that previously received support and proved successful in the go-to-market phase of the 2 previous grand challenges, securing water for food and powering agriculture. Outside of that, new companies, private for-profit companies, or teams within nonprofit organizations or universities that maintain their own budget and are responsible for generating revenue, and others identified on a case-by-case basis. So we aim to work with these entities in order to ultimately reach and impact poor women and men, smallholder farmers, and youth, and others working in all parts of the agricultural value chain in emerging economies. Now that we've gone through the overview of the call for innovations, I'll start to get into the eligibility criteria and what kind of innovations we are specifically looking to support. Broadly, there are 5 major criteria that determine if an applicant can participate in this specific call that we have opened. You can see them here in this table. First is type. So we are looking to support companies that are legally incorporated or registered for-profit businesses, or non-profit organizations or academic institutions, which are responsible for generating revenue and maintaining a self-sustaining budget. In terms of size, there are no restrictions on organization size, so we invite all sizes, all types of companies to apply. In terms of location, as mentioned, applicants must be legally registered or partnered with an organization that is legally registered in one of the 16 target countries. All grant awardees must demonstrate matching funds, which will come up in the Q&A later on in the presentation. And in terms of impact, the final criterion, We4Food, we're really looking for We4Food Nexus products and services that have a direct, tangible linkage between water, energy, and/or food value chains. So innovations must directly or indirectly benefit the poor, contribute to gender equality, and strive to avoid negative environmental impacts, which again are our 3 ESG topics as well. So here's a list of factors or qualities that we think of as a successful application in this call for innovations. So such an applicant should have a financially sustainable business model, again, either a private for-profit company or a team within a nonprofit or academic organization that is focused on generating revenue. An innovator that should address water, energy, or food nexus challenges, has a well-defined plan for expansion and scaling, builds sustainability into the fabric or the framework of their intended expansion, understands the local enabling environment, policies and regulations for technology and business innovations, promotes user-centered design and not necessarily just developing technology for the sake of technology, demonstrating direct or strong indirect benefits for the poor as well as women, has a basic understanding of the 3 ESG topics and showcases strong commitment to integration of those topics in their business model, and has a gender balanced team that can scale up innovation in a sustainable manner within the organization itself. Alternatively, there are innovations with certain factors or qualities that we are not necessarily looking to support, and these are listed here. So these innovators include those that fail to demonstrate a proven track record of sustainable sales and service delivery, fail to demonstrate how they can eventually ensure sustainable benefits in line with We4Food goals, or demonstrate positive impact on the poor, women, and the environment, or at least on the environmental piece that they cause no negative effects. We're not looking to select innovators that focus on R&D for a product without a clearly defined market or proven market demand. As mentioned, we're looking to support organizations that are that have proven technologies and are looking to scale. And in terms of customers and end user base, we've defined it as we're not looking to select innovators that for a product or service that costs less than $100 have not reached a minimum customer base of 5,000 customers or total end users. And then for a product or service that costs more than $100, that number is 1,000 customers or total end users. So just continuing on this theme of what we're not necessarily looking to support. These are innovators that do not operate as a legally registered entity in at least one of the target countries, that focus on sustainable water supply and energy access without a clear, explicit benefit to the food sector, of course, as that relates to the goals of We for Food. Also, innovators that focus on agricultural products and services without a significant and sustainable water or energy efficiency component. And there are also certain projects that we're not looking to support. So these include large dam projects for water capture and storage, for example, solar PV projects that might lack an explicit benefit to food value chains, wastewater treatment projects that lack that explicit benefit to food value chains, or large infrastructure projects. We're also not necessarily looking to support innovators that are large corporations for which the sale of We for Food Nexus products or services do not make up a significant portion of their revenue or is not necessarily a priority within their business. And we are not looking to support government entities or individuals, whether that be on the local, regional, or international level. So now that we've done an overview of the call for innovations and we've talked about what sort of innovations we are and are not looking to support, I'll give an overview of our timeline, and then we'll get more in detail into the specifics of the application. So here you can see we're currently in the first phase, the concept note intake. The application portal opened on November 3rd and will close on December 15th. So we invite you to submit a concept note on the website, which is really designed to not have a high barrier of entry. Possibly it would take a few hours to complete at a minimum. And this includes details like the basics or an overview of your organization and innovation, intended partners, technical focus area, and the countries of implementation that you're focusing on. And of course, how your innovation relates to the We for Food Nexus and the ESG topics. Next, just moving right on the arrow here, our team will review the concept notes until December 22nd. At that point, we will invite a select number of applicants to submit a full application. And these will be the Call for Innovations semifinalists. So the full application is meant to provide evaluators with more in-depth information on the technical side, but also on the financial side. At this stage, applicants will be required to submit a detailed budget. And then moving on from January 13 to 20, our team will review these full applications, which will be followed by video interviews of all the semifinalists, from which we will select up to 27 finalists. After that selection of the finalists is done and we get them approved in February, we will aim to give awards by March 2nd of next year. And that will effectively get us to having our first formal cohort of We for Food Asia innovators. So since we're focused on the concept note stage right now, and that is currently the focus, here is an overview of the criteria with which we will evaluate these concept notes. So there are 3 criteria, each with their own questions and weights, and you can find that on the application website. So first is innovation viability, with questions like describing your innovation broadly, how does the innovation provide value to end users and differ from existing products, how does it relate to the water, energy, food nexus, and who are your customer segments, and that has a weight of 40%. Second is business or financial viability, with questions relating to current revenue and plans for expansion, total addressable and potential market shares, and current product or service costs. And that comes in at 35%. And then third relates to sustainability and the ESG topics. So these will be questions on the intended geographies, the intended local partners, and more details on the relationship between your innovation and ESG topics, gender, environment, and base of pyramid impact. And that comes in at 25% of the total score. One note is that the concept, this is the concept note criteria. The criteria for the applications, the full application, is not necessarily the same as this, and those details are in the call for innovations document, which you can find on the website. We're just really emphasizing the concept note criteria right now because, of course, that's the current focus. And finally, before we go into the pre-submitted questions that we already got, just want to give a quick look at our application platform. So all concept notes, as mentioned, must be submitted through our online application portal that you can access at this link, we4f.org/apply-SSEA. There's a link there that will take you to a website that should look like this on the screen. And that's also where you can view the full call for innovations document in PDF form that has all the info we've been going over so far today, and even in more detail. So the system that is hosting the call for innovations application platform is SM Apply, or SurveyMonkey Apply, which is what you see on the screen here. So you will need to create a dedicated account. And once you've done that, you can fill out the concept note submission platform. And the deadline, of course, is December 15 at 5 p.m. Thailand time. Okay, so that concludes the call for innovations overview and details portion of the presentation. We'll now turn to the questions that we received via email in the past 1 to 2 weeks. And what we did was actually take all the questions, and since there were many, we consolidated them per topic and have prepared answers. We really appreciate all the interest so far and the high number of enthusiastic questions we've received, and we're looking forward to going through them with you now. And just a reminder, if your question is not necessarily answered right now, please feel free to put it in the chat, and we will take note of it for the summary document that we'll post on the website. So with our first question, this relates to who is eligible to apply. The question reads, I'm a nonprofit organization that develops wheat for food products and services. Can I apply to the call for innovation? So as mentioned, Wheat for Food is looking to support for-profit ventures in the Wheat for Food Nexus. But besides private companies, this does include nonprofits or university teams if they maintain their own budget or are responsible for generating revenue as a primary part of their business model. And of course, if they have an innovation that relates to the Wheat for Food Nexus. So besides private companies, nonprofits, and university teams, government entities or individuals or organizations without such a revenue generation model are not eligible to apply. Second, I am a former securing water for food or powering agriculture innovator. Do I need to compete again in the Wheat for Food call for innovations? Yes, legacy innovators from both of those programs do need to competitively apply for grants through this call. So we very much encourage those innovators to apply if they are interested in grants. The third question relates to geography. So we got a few questions about countries of implementation. For example, if you're a project developer in Somalia, Tanzania, Yemen, can you apply to this call for innovations? In short, no, because we are, of course, the Asia hub, and we are looking to specifically support innovators that are working in at least one of the 16 target countries. If you remember the map that Janelle showed earlier in the presentation, these are those 16 countries. But I should note, of course, that we are not the only We for Food hub. There are 4 in total, including West Africa, East Africa, and the Middle East and North Africa. So if you are working in other countries in those regions, we do very much encourage you to check out the We for Food website and engage those hubs. And actually, the Middle East and North Africa hub does have also has a open call for innovations at the moment. Next, we received a few emails including the project proposal as a set of documents. These will not be considered. We will only consider applications that are formally submitted through our website, through the link that we have here on the screen, and we will not review any that are directly emailed to the hub. Next is a question about consortia and applying as a consortium. So can applicants submit a proposal as a consortium? And if so, should there be a lead applicant? Yes, consortiums are allowed to submit a proposal. However, there should be a lead applicant with whom Tetra Tech would issue the contract for. And each organization's role in the consortium should be very clear in the concept note. Second, it's important to note here that being a program that values local ownership and implementation, in the case of a consortium or joint partnership that involves a local company operating in the target country, we encourage the team to designate that company as the project manager. And third, the organization that submits the application should have a legally registered entity in at least one of those target countries, or have at least one local partner that is registered in one of those target countries. And again, that local partner could be a commercial or eligible NGO or university partner, maybe a joint venture partner, or a candidate for a merger or acquisition. Next, could you please elaborate on the difference between efficient use and sustainable use? So this touches on the 6 themes that we reviewed earlier. Theme 2 mentions the first, so it mentions efficient use of water resources for food production. And this specifically means, when we say efficient, we mean reducing water wastage required for food production inputs, a more efficient input-output ratio for water inputs going into food production or processing. Theme 3, however, mentions sustainable use of both energy and water for food production. And when we say sustainable, we mean giving importance to holistic management of natural resources and ecosystems, using resources with minimal environmental impact related to both water and energy. Next question, could you please indicate whether there is a preference for innovations focused on smallholder farming or on commercial or industrial farming? In short, We for Food does expect to prioritize support for innovations that target smallholder farmers and poor women and men, as well as others working in all parts of the agricultural value chain. So I would say that that is a priority. Next question, could you please indicate how important is the women-led factor for the focus of the innovations proposed? The agricultural sector is generally male or man dominated. I think this is a good question that is important to unpack. I definitely, and we acknowledge the point about the agricultural sector that may be male dominated, but I would again reiterate that despite that, gender equality is a central theme of We for Food broadly. It is really of high importance broadly, but also in the concept note stage specifically, and it will be specifically looked at favorably in the concept note review. So a women-led team can be reflected in the applicant's leadership team, in their upper management, founders, or key team players. And We for Food will give a preference to women-owned or women-led organizations and developing country entrepreneurs. Next question, could you please provide more details on the minimum level of cost contribution expected from the project team or the matching funds? So matching, whether it be in kind or cash equivalent, will be based on funding provided by We4Food, not necessarily the total project budget, and the final amount of matching funds will be determined on a case-by-case basis with each applicant. It's also important to note here that actually matching is not part of the concept note stage, so we are not requiring any details about that at this time. But it will come up later on if an application is chosen to move on to the later stages. Next question, could you please elaborate and provide illustrations on the ESG principles to be respected as a minimum to be eligible for the support? So as per the foundational motivations behind We4Food and our guiding principles on ESG specifically, we look to incorporate ESG into We4Food's decision-making, operating structure, and standard practices wherever we can. And those ESG guidelines are actually in the Call for Innovations document in Appendix 4. So I would also encourage, if anyone has any further questions, to refer to that part of the document. But that being said, we do want to emphasize that we're looking for innovators that have a basic understanding of these ESG topics, gender, environment, and base of pyramid impact, and furthermore show a strong commitment to integrating these topics into their business model. We actually, in our ESG guidelines, have a sort of classification of 3 levels of ESG integration: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So we are very much thinking about not a one-size-fits-all approach for all innovators, knowing that innovators are at different stages of integrating ESG into their business model. But more details on those classifications are in Appendix 4 of the Call for Innovations document. And then just a final note on this, sort of logistically, the ESG topic or applicability and integration of ESG topics makes up 25% of the concept note score, as previously mentioned. So this question relates to organization size. The applicant asked, my company was just registered in a country and has less than 5 employees. Am I eligible for the Call for Innovations? Yes, the Call for Innovations does not have any restrictions for company size. So if an applicant meets all the other eligibility requirements that we've been talking about, we invite them to apply. And we do encourage applications from small and medium enterprises. The next question reads, our proposal is to assess an already executed project, identify gaps and opportunities for growth, and build on it. Would this be eligible for an award? So just to reiterate, the innovations that we're looking to support must be already commercially proven products, services, or business models with a very clear plan for scaling and impacting the target group and users. So innovations that are focused on research and development for a product, maybe a product without a clearly defined market, or without proven commercial demand will not be supported. Really looking to support innovations that are mature and have demonstrated potential for scaling. So if an innovation is not presented like that, up to these requirements in the concept note, it would not be eligible for an award. This question reads, while our company has not yet reached a customer base of 5,000 customers through our service, our technology has been adopted by hundreds of thousands of users. Is this eligible for the Call for Innovations? So the customers or end user base can be both direct and indirect. So if it's clear that at least 5,000 end users or total customer base individuals have been reached, we would invite you to apply. And just another note on that, if a specific business model is a B2B, business to business model, then the combined end users for all the customers should be more than 5,000. This question is on grants or other instruments. So it reads, awards made through this regional call may be in the form of grants or other instruments as appropriate. what other instruments are eligible, e.g. convertible grant or equity. Depending on the innovator's needs and review by the We for Food Asia Hub, there will be a combination of options that are available, not only grants, but also technical assistance and or investment facilitation. So for grants, only fixed price grants will be considered. So it's important to note that in the event that the hub reviews the application and determines that technical assistance or investment facilitation might be more of use or more in line with the innovators' plans for scaling, that might be other instruments that are proposed in the award. This question is on matching funds. So in the case of grant awards, the investee must show proof of matching funds. Can these come from any source of recent investment, and any unspent funds must be presented as a cash contribution towards the project, for example, in case of shared resources. So matching, again, whether it's in kind or cash equivalent, will be based on funding provided by We for Food, not the total project budget. And the final amount of matching funds will be determined on a case-by-case basis. We are not asking in this currently in the concept note stage for those matching details, and there are no current restrictions as is on where the matching funds can be sourced from. This next question reads, can we apply to multiple countries? And furthermore, if we are based in a non-target country, but have entities or partner organizations in one of the countries mentioned in the list, can we apply? Yes, an application can include multiple countries. There are no restrictions on this, again, as long as they are in the 16 target countries. All applicants must be registered and authorized by the national government in the country in which they work, or have at least one local partner that is registered to work in that country. And again, this local partner could be a commercial or NGO partner, a joint venture, or a candidate for a merger or acquisition. So specifically for this question, if there is a partner that is locally registered and another organization is not, but is partnering with them, that does work. This next question reads, what type of activities are funded? Our proposal is for a technology related to fertilizer for food production, for example. Is this eligible? So in terms of activities being funded, We for Food is looking to provide grants, technical assistance, and or investment facilitation for commercially proven products, services, or business models. In terms of the actual types of products, services, or business models, as we've been talking about, if they are in line with the We for Food nexus, with the ESG topics, if there are clear, tangible linkages between water and or energy and food value chains, then we do invite you to submit a concept note. Specifically on the note of fertilizer for food production, if there is a clear case for water and energy relating to how the fertilizer is helping with producing food, this is eligible for applying. And I'd invite you to look into chapter 3 of the full Call for Innovations document for more details on this. This question reads, can we apply with multiple proposals with different related entities? We encourage applicants to only submit one proposal and to be as efficient as possible with that one proposal. Okay, so that actually does it for our pre-webinar submitted questions. So maybe we can take a look at some of the questions that we've received in the Q&A column. So just going through these, there's the question on using We for Food grants for marine aquaculture development. as it relates to providing solutions for a shortage of food with population growth and tackling poverty and hunger. This relates to the second to last question on if fertilizer for food production is eligible. If there's a clear representation of how the innovation connects water and/or energy to food, then it is eligible. If it is supporting marine aquaculture and there are efficient water or energy inputs that are clearly shown to help produce or process food, then that I would say that is eligible. There's one question from a webinar participant that is asking about the end user customer base. We did answer that question. Again, it's related to the total number of direct and indirect customers. And if it's clear that at least 5,000 end users, total end users, both direct and indirect, have been reached, we do invite you to apply. There's a question about the award up to a value of 500,000. That would be the value of the award. Again, that could be a combination of grant, technical assistance, and/or investment facilitation. That is what We for Food would provide. And on the note about matching funds, that would be determined at the time of award, not at the concept note stage, but later on. There's a question on percentage of women in the workforce and senior management. If a certain number, like 40%, women is qualified for eligibility. I would encourage you to specifically look at the 3 classification levels that we came up with for the ESG topics: beginner, medium, and advanced. But just from the way this question is worded, it definitely sounds like this applicant is thinking about and prioritizing a women-owned or led team. So I would encourage you to apply. There's a question that reads, would a stage of testing and positioning of business model for scale be relevant, or should it be at a stage of proven scale with profitable and repeatable business model? I would say the latter. We're definitely going to prioritize giving support to proven technologies and services that already have shown scalability, profit, and repeatability, as opposed to testing and positioning. One question reads, can registered women entrepreneurs who have just started their business apply for upscaling? If the company is, if it's a registered company in the country of intended implementation, and if it meets all the other requirements that we've been discussing, including proven technology, product, or service, then we do encourage you to apply. There's a question that touches on how a nonprofit research organization might be going about their business. For example, what is the unit price point at which you sell the product and service? How will this work for a nonprofit research organization that generally works with co-developing technologies with the government and let government place the mechanism to extend the service to the farmer community? I think it would be important to reiterate the point about prioritizing private sector and revenue generating model driven solutions. So if if a nonprofit organization is not primarily the one that is focusing on bringing in revenue and developing this technology and deploying it, that might not be eligible for applying. There's a question that reads, is a collaboration partner encouraged or a preference is for individual applicants? As it currently stands in the Call for Innovations document, we don't have a specific preference for consortia over individuals. Being a program that does want to sort of champion and emphasize or highlight local solutions, we do encourage applications from local organizations or partners. So we would encourage applicants to consider partnering with a local organization, but it's not a requirement. And at least for the concept note criteria, there is no preference given to a consortia over an individual applicant.
With that, Mikhail, I think we have come to the end of our questions. I want to thank you for walking us through the detailed call for innovations and providing responses to all the questions that were posed, as well as the questions that were in the chat. We will be posting this webinar recording on the website, as well as publishing a formal question and answer document with all the questions submitted previously, presented in this presentation, and raised during the Q&A today. Again, we encourage you to spread the word, review the call for innovations, and apply by the deadline to be considered as one of those 40 innovators that we will support. A reminder that the deadline is December 15th at 5 p.m. GMT+7 time. Thank you very much for your interest and time today, and have a wonderful day.